So yeah. So the person that's currently running the White House is putting all the attack movie on it. This man literally said
Huh?
peaceful protesters.
Yeah, peaceful
But
protesters.
as he shot them with rubber bullets and tear gas them.
Yep, he did that.
I'm so over it. I'm so over it. I'm so over it. I'm so over it. This isn't even funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly it's people that's not from the community that's coming in a different community. Like this is a coordinated effort. You have to understand that it's a coordinated effort to, destroy to make people feel like, these are the protesters of George Floyd that's doing this, and that's further from the truth. Like I've seen several videos of people that didn't look like protesters breaking into, businesses and stuff like that. So
exactly that's the thing about it, is that there's this conception of, this is what the protesters are doing. No, that's actually not what the protesters are doing. The protesters are trying to, I don't know, stay alive. Let me live. Can't breathe. Don't shoot. I want to grow up. All those things we talked about. If you were in Chicago, you know about ceasefire. That was one of our main things. Is don't shoot. I want to grow up. Don't shoot. I want to grow up. Don't shoot. I want to grow up. This is like, hold on, wait.
Right.
12 years ago, we've been having the same conversation for how long? Actually, we've been having the same conversation since the 60s, but what was the 50s? I lost track of when the last time we actually had like some shit.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. But the one thing that I do want to say is that I need people to understand there's a difference between protesters and the people that are choosing to riot and loot. Most of the people that are choosing to riot and loot, well, let me phrase that, the ones who started it were not from here. They weren't from any of the states that happened. They had out-of-state plates, all of that. This was a coordinated effort.
They had charter buses, like the other ones. They had charter buses with people coming in from different states. People were riding around with no license tags or out of state.
And I just want to add real fast. Right now on the news, we have Lieutenant General Russell Honor. He's stationed in New Orleans. He is calling out for a military lawyer to go from the Pentagon to go first thing tomorrow so that they can file against the President of the United States. He is telling them that he's calling out to the military to follow in suit and to not go forward with this, because what he is stating is that this president does not understand the Constitution and he is violating it by going forward. So he is saying, he's calling on the military generals and he's saying the soldiers to not follow suit and have confidence that your superiors will follow you and not move forward if you're not moving forward. And that's happening right now. And these are people from the US Army, the military speaking out, and we're just waiting on the National Guard. But they are pretty much stating that they want Congress and the Senate to come together and put restraints against him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the House is doing that right now as we speak. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of phone calls being made. Hey, Munchie. I'm pretty sure that it is. So I have every confidence that at least the House is doing it. The Senate, however, that's majority Republican. So who's to say what's going to happen? And also, just to clarify for people that don't know, Trump just came out not too long ago and said that he was enacting the full military and National Guard to come and basically brute force people into not protesting. Also, he made a comment about nurses. It's really interesting that he would make a comment about nurses when during the pandemic he fought the nurses and the doctors every way. There are still hospitals, clinics, and other medical care facilities, rest homes that do not have the proper equipment they need to protect themselves and to protect the citizens and the residents that they serve. So for him to come out and say, it's nurses that's scared to go outside is just total bullshit.
He don't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like, he really doesn't care. It's the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, he got scared because people got past the gate. And that's it. That's all it is. But like I said, all these people that are sitting up there, I need y'all to understand. Peaceful protesters are just that. They're there, they're voicing their opinions, and the majority of them are in the background trying to get things changed. They have worked years trying to get things changed the right way. So what we're not going to do is act as if the protesters are the ones acting all crazy. That's not what they do. That's just not what they do.
Right.
So we cannot lump everyone together because those are different people doing different things.
Yeah.
And my heart hurts for all the businesses that have been ransacked and the people that now can't get their fucking medication. Like, did you think at all?
Right.
We are in a pandemic. Are y'all trying? Y'all do know if y'all get sick and have to go to the hospital or some of those meds won't be there now, right? Did y'all think about that part or no? No, we weren't thinking that far ahead. Didn't think about the fact that we have friends and family that are sick outside of COVID. No, we didn't think about that part, did we? That part wasn't in that wasn't in the that wasn't in the plan. Hell, was there a plan? What I mean, was there a freaking plan, y'all? Come on, man. I get it. We're upset. We're angry. We're stressed out. We're trying to get through. But this isn't it. This isn't it. Unless y'all are going to sit back and rebuild those businesses that you messed up. What was the point? In Baltimore, you know what they did after they destroyed stuff? They came back and fixed it. That's why CNN and everybody was so shocked. Because when they came back on the third day, people were cleaning up the neighborhoods that they destroyed. Are y'all gonna do that? There's no reason to destroy the businesses that we grew up with. that our parents, our grandparents own, the businesses that have supported you forever, that you walked past as a child. Y'all are kids, man. Where y'all finna work? Where are y'all finna work now? Those are the businesses that were actually that would hire you to help you get to teach you about entrepreneurship. This is just insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, but you still have to take into effect that a lot of these people, a lot of these businesses that's getting destroyed and demolished are they're trying to say it's Black Lives Matter. They're trying to
I know,
say
but
that
it's
it's
not.
the
We
activists,
know,
and
but we know it's not.
it's not.
We know
It's
it's
not.
not.
When you have the news reporting on this, that it's not the actual
Right? The
protesters.
news is saying no, it's not. It's not them. It's not them. It's not them. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing about it. Like our shout out to our mayor because she was like, this isn't the protesters. Nah, this is somebody else. This isn't even from here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
they're also being very transparent with letting us see the arrest records and showing us that the biggest population in jails right now are coming in from out of town. I know here where I'm at, they've already shut down the Greyhound because these groups were coming in off the Greyhound. You can no longer do that
wow.
here. And they went ahead and they even showed the arrest records. We had people coming in from Oklahoma, from Tennessee, who wanted to burn down Houston and they couldn't. And that's another thing that we're starting to see is that it's not the peaceful protesters. These are
No.
organized groups coming in. They've organized very well, way better than our protesters, and they are coming in from out of town to cause destruction. And I'm just glad that our law enforcement is being very transparent and letting us see that.
Right. You know what's crazy though? You wanna know why our protesters not organizations can't organize? Because they're a fucking pandemic. And they're supposed to be waiting until they have to get back into work. There's a whole pandemic out there. Was ready to organize the damn movement right now.
Right.
This is insane.
Hey Munchie, hey Keisha.
Hey Keisha, I didn't even see him outside, sweetheart. Girl, we are in a pandemic. That's why I was like, why the organizations weren't exactly ready because they were organizing about other shit. It takes a minute to get that kind of groups together. Like I've said this before. We've had protests here when 45 got in and the white ladies got a clue. They realized they made a mistake. The Women's March had 250,000 people in this state. 250,000 people in the city alone. Nothing happened. We might have had like 15 arrests. That shows that our city knows how to protest peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that I will say is that when Colin Kaepernick was on his knees, y'all had a problem with that too. So we do recognize that y'all have a problem with whatever the hell we do.
Right.
But that is no excuse to destroy the businesses that y'all need to survive. That didn't make no sense. Y'all told the Walgreens, the stores y'all just got, like, and this isn't just for Chicago. This is for everybody, especially for Chicago. Y'all, the store you just got, like the stores we just fought for. That's what we thought was a good idea. Y'all do know they're not coming back, right? I mean, what I'm hoping comes out of this is that now, a little bit, yeah, because it's not coming through now. It comes a little bit. It goes in and out. But like that's what we usually go on mute when we're all talking, because otherwise it echoes, which is really weird. YouTube is weird like that. But But what I'm hoping comes out of this whole situation is that the businesses that were destroyed will then get replaced by the contracts to rebuild them will go to black contractors. That's what I'm hoping will happen. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's what I'm hoping will happen. That will kind of make this make sense, but still very frustrating. But if we can rebuild them and we actually get the contracts to rebuild them, it's so frustrating because it's like in the one hand you're thinking, okay, the point was made that those were businesses that we didn't necessarily own, and this and the third. I'm like, yeah, but y'all did destroy black businesses. And there was a conversation of, well, it wasn't really black owned. It was just in the store was, but the building wasn't. Like, I really don't want to go back and forth on that because the fact of the matter is, these are people that we knew and grew up with, and have been trying to do something for themselves. So they don't have to rely on a traditional job, and you taking that away because you got selfish. Period, point blank. I've protested since I was 19 years old. Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I'm like, yeah, since I was 19 years old, I've helped to organize protests, not just in the city, but out of state, in Springfield on multiple occasions. I've gone out of Springfield so much. I think I know the route by heart at this point. So it's not that I've never done this before. A lot of these people are new, don't know what they're doing. They're not led properly. Okay. They're not led properly either. And it's just a mess.
It's a mess, but it's a topic that we'll most likely be talking about for a while when it comes to like the destruction of businesses. It's a hard, I don't know how to explain it. I guess because I've been a part of protests since Occupy Wall Street.
Right.
I've marched. We've done all the marching. We did all of the Martin Luther King things, and we were never heard.
Well, I think the issue that I had with Occupy was, especially in Chicago, is that they Occupy here definitely wasn't organized, and they liked getting arrested. They just did dumb shit that got them arrested every single night, and people were like, got to the point where like, we can't afford to be arrested every night. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's the biggest problem, is that like they literally would like do things like go out in a spot where they weren't supposed to be, specifically just so they can get arrested every night for like a week. And we're like, that's not helping anything. What are y'all doing?
Well, it's because in the beginning, when we were doing the peaceful protesting, I don't know if you remember this, Occupy Wall Street was being seen by the media and reported by the media as a bunch of pot smoking hippies.
Yes.
They were saying that we didn't have jobs, that the majority of us were living off of the government and food stamps or on Section 8, that we were lazy, that we wanted to live off the government, that we were young teenagers just looking to cause destruction and violence, that we were unintelligent. And Occupy Wall Street was one of the protests that I've been a part, that I saw a lot of older people out there with us. It wasn't as much, there was a lot of young people, which at that point it wasn't our millennials. Now we were the millennials.
Right.
And we had a lot of professors. We had a lot of educated lawmakers, educated people, a lot of teachers. Law enforcement was there with us because they were the older generation experiencing and who had already gone through the injustice of Wall Street, of the big banks. And so I remember them portraying us as that, and people telling us, go home, you bum, and get a job. And I remember so many times we came out on the news and we showed people out there. And the thing is, the police was very agitated. Here in Houston, HPD would actually put big red tarps over the protesters, and we got beaten up several times just standing there. I mean, we're just standing there, we're not doing anything. And I remember I was drinking water one day, and I just saw this big red tarp over me, and I was like, oh, somebody's putting shade over me, and the baton hit my back.
Oh my
I
God.
wasn't doing anything. And
Jesus.
they were cut because there was a lot of media coverage on it, that they didn't want the media to show them beating us up
Wow.
and then arresting us, you know. And it got to that point to where people were actually believing that we were just people who were pot smoking bums out there living off the government.
Right.
And
That
when
wasn't the case at all.
the cops got really aggressive with us, there were so many people who had just came back from Iraq and Afghanistan. These
Mm-hmm.
were our military who would go out there and protect us from the cops. And I remember that. And so it was like we were doing everything peaceful. We were raising, you know, we were executing our rights under this constitution in this nation. And you portrayed us to be that way. And we weren't that. And that's not what we were there for. You didn't care to report, or, you know, like our president was silent at that time, going with everything. And I just felt like we were just not getting any support. So then I understand where the frustration came in, where people were like, "You're not going to listen to us? That's fine. We are going to sleep we're going to sleep on the sidewalks. We're
Right.
going to stay out here, and that's how we're going to get attention." And we did get attention. And then from one day to the next, I remember it was protests nationwide of
Yes.
people just
Yep.
occupying parks. Then they started really paying attention to us. Then
Yep.
I remember how it changed from us being pot smoking, government, living off the government bums, to being, these people are fed up. And then they started reporting on the injustices that we were facing from a corrupt banking system, the
Yep.
corruptness
Yeah.
in Wall Street. Then we started getting a lot of traction. Then there was more restrictions imposed on the cops. You can't just beat them up anymore. We had more people come out from the military to protect us. That's why I've been through that. I understand the people who are protesting now,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel the same way once again. Like we, you know, it's like it comes in waves.
Yeah.
Something happens, we do the peaceful protest, we speak up, we're told, okay, okay, we heard you, we're going to work on it, and nothing happens. And I heard protesters in Minneapolis say the days of Martin Luther King are over. And I
Facts.
feel that way too, because I've done it so many times, and I still have not seen anything come about what we did in Occupy Wall Street. You
Right.
know, the banking system is still corrupt. We had the big thing that happened with JP Morgan, a few years ago, and Wells Fargo. They
Yep.
all got exposed. They're talking about now with COVID-19, Wall Street's crashing, and people are just like, I don't care. I don't care, because, you know, with so long, we've talked against them, we've exposed them, and no one's
Mm-hmm.
listening. And so when I heard them say the days of walking and jogging with Martin Luther King are gone, these are the days of Malcolm X. I understand it. And
Right.
while I don't support the destruction and the looting, at the same time, I feel like that's the only way we're heard. And so it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
We know that people are coming in from out of town. These anarchists are coming in from out of town. White nationalists,
Yep.
neo-Nazis, alt-right groups are way more prepared. And the reason why they are way more prepared than protesters is because a lot of them are military and law enforcement. They know how to do this stuff right. They are in
Yep.
groups and they're being infiltrated right now.
Yep.
And they are mobilizing people. Okay, you're gonna go here. This group's gonna go there. We're gonna
Yep.
go there. And so they go out of town so that people don't recognize them in their own city. The best
Mm-hmm.
thing that could happen to is that we have such advanced technology with our smartphones that we're capturing it live.
Yep.
And then we're finding out that a lot of people in their family are outing them because they're like, I didn't know that this person was like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's still up in the air. You know, I still feel mixed. Like if somebody's like that, I feel like you would see signs. But you know, we don't know. But they're being outed by their own family members, by their
Wow.
spouses, and so we're capturing that live. And so I do not support them with what they are doing, because they're the ones starting the major protesting, the major, destruction, antagonizing police, burning down buildings. They're leading peaceful protesters into doing things that we know, me and you, from all these years of protesting, that you shouldn't do. But I get it. Like, this protest happened in a time where a lot of people are in need, when we don't know if we're going to even have ham to make a sandwich tomorrow.
Right.
We have a government who doesn't even want to issue stimulus checks. Before this, we got to remember, they just wanted to open up the country and send us back to work, because they just don't want to help anymore. They're just like, if they get sick, they get sick. We just need to get back. We need to get back to operating.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are hurting from the pandemic. That's
Yeah.
happening too. And I don't condone the destruction, but at the same time, I understand we're also not in the time of Rodney King. A lot of these businesses have insurance, the majority of them.
Right.
And so I know they'll rebuild. It hurts, but unfortunately, we can't peaceful protest, because we have a president who, in the same speech, says, I am an ally of peaceful protest, but calls us domestic terrorists, and now is trying to impose martial law on us.
Right.
And at that point, I feel like, with a president who keeps adding fuel to the fire since the beginning, the first thing he came out and said was, when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
Yeah.
This morning, they also released a lot of, I'm guessing some governors released the tape of him on the phone with the governors from all around this nation, calling them weak, demanding that they use the National Guard against us.
Wow.
And, threatening that if they don't use it, he will make them use it. When we have someone in office who's antagonizing, because that's what he's doing, he's antagonizing.
Right.
It's hard to tell people don't do that.
Yeah.
It fuels the fire. It fuels the hatred. And I've heard of stories where, business owners parked in front of their businesses and stayed inside their business all night with like weapons.
Yeah.
And the protesters were like, okay, we can't go here, or the people who were I won't say the protesters, but the people who were rioting weren't able to. There was people protecting pharmacies and libraries with protesters against rioters, because there's a difference between a protester and someone who wants anarchy. There's a big difference.
Huge difference.
And when you hear those stories, you realize that there's a lot of anger out there right now, and most of these people who are angry aren't just angry because of the situation with George Floyd. A lot of anarchists are, at heart, their values against the government from the start. Right. And so we're seeing them out there display, and it's just too much, and we don't have someone in power right now who can talk to us the way Barack used to talk to us.
Right.
And calm us down and make us feel somewhat secure. And with him antagonizing us like that, calling us terrorists, all in one big speech, contradicting himself, only to try to instill martial law, it's not going to help. It's going to get worse. We're going to see more come out of this, more anger. And so, while I don't condone what they're doing, what the rioters are doing, at the same time, I understand why they're doing it, because we got to remember back in Philadelphia, remember the cops dropped that bomb on that neighborhood. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And that was like justified, like, oh, it was a big oopsie. And that caught people's attention, like, damn, they did that shit in Philly. And we see people burning down one store, and it's like people's mind frame forget. It's like they get more mad at the fact that there's like a store burning that we know has insurance and will come back, like the Target. So many people were upset with the Target. Exactly. Target alone has a lot of crimes against humanity. And so their laboring is very questionable, especially with what they're doing with the people in Asia. So when people were upset at that, I was like, why are you upset? They're going to rebuild. They could care less. We just gave them a big check. but it's not about the target, At the end of the day, they'll rebuild and they'll continue on and they'll hire more people. Where it gets murky is that so many people focus on those things that they forget about us, the protesters. And
Exactly.
that's where people start getting hatred towards us. And
Right.
I just that's why I'm like, we have to put the focus back on why we're protesting, which I believe we're doing
Right.
a great job of it. Social media, I'm glad this time around the news media, is focusing on the right thing, but we still have those people out there who are just like fully upset that the business is a building and what's inside of the building can be replaced. But we will never have George Floyd back and
That,
the countless other people. So I understand why when we see burning buildings, why? Because if we only marched peacefully, they wouldn't care about
oh
arresting those
no, don't
officers.
do it. I understand. I'm saying like when the things didn't change until I started, you know, being destructive. However, like I said, my biggest thing is the fact of like people that are sitting there and burning down businesses that just opened up, all that kind of stuff that can't get insurance. That
Yeah.
the people that have been supporting you for years, that have fed you and clothed you for years. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that I have a problem with.
Yeah, I think that's where we all feel for them. Um, it's not something we would want to see, but my hope is that with as advanced as the technology is in a lot of these cities, that they can identify the people who do it. Because
Oh,
I
listen,
bet that we're going to find out that it was those outside groups doing it.
I'm sure.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
most
hope
definitely.
that they can do something against them where these businesses, these small mom and pop businesses who don't have as much insurance or who will not be able to cover everything, can face some type of charges against them.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you wear a Guy Fawkes mask out there. We all know that Anonymous uses the Guy Fawkes mask, but Anonymous is not an anarchist. And a
Nope.
lot of anarchists using them. And I've been seeing video after video of these people with the Guy Fawkes mask who are anarchists out there busting down these mom and shop businesses. And that's
Yep.
where we see the protesters fighting them back, telling them to stop,
Yep.
graffitiing. We just saw the video of the two Caucasian women out there saying that
Black Lives
protesters
Matter.
told them to put Black Lives Matter on the Starbucks.
Hmm.
And they were like, nobody told you to do that. Nobody's telling you to do that. You need to stop. And I'm just hoping that these mom and pop businesses can somehow press charges and sue these people who are doing this just in the name of destruction. We don't want anarchy. We want justice. There's a difference. We've
Yeah.
never been solely all against the government the way they are. And so it's like there needs to be some process where after this, they can identify those people and press charges against them because they're the ones who are murking our whole message.
Yep.
Right. And that's why I've been posting a lot of videos. I've been posting a lot of videos of other people doing stuff. I'm going to continue to post videos of, like, I posted a video of people that were actually breaking the windows and using the barriers to break the windows of the Minneapolis Police Department. But just as quickly as that happened, when it got set on fire, they were so quick to blame the Black Lives Matter movement
Of course.
and the protesters, and that wasn't the case. Those people did not look like protesters to me. I mean, it's countless of videos circulating around on the internet that actually shows you it's this man, one that's in all black with an umbrella, breaking into Target with a hammer. You know what I'm saying? The
And
same
AutoZone,
Target that wind up
yeah.
getting burned
Mhm.
down. So, I mean,
And
it's
he, and
definitely.
that same person, they exposed him, his own partner, his own like wife exposed him. He was actually wearing his wife's gas masks and her gloves, and her friend sent her a picture, like a screenshot, and said, "Is this so and so?" Which was her husband, and she said, "Yes." What is that? And the friend started explaining to her that he was out there busting the windows in the Target, at the Cub store and the AutoZone. And she was like, oh my God. And he works for the Minneapolis Police Department. And the wife is the one who said he's working with such and such who works in fires. And that AutoZone caught on fire along with all of the other buildings. And we're seeing videos of these anarchists out there who have certain tools to light these fires that the protesters don't have on them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they also have access to like flashbangs
All that.
and firecrackers. Like I just put I have a video that I'm going to post of a man and a woman. It was a white woman and a black man, and they were protecting. This was in California. And pretty much I think, I'm not sure, but I would say that it's like the upscale part of LA. And they just they were sitting there protecting it, and the man, he grabbed the arm and slung her out the way. She came back. Her sign read no need for violence. And that was basically their movement, and they were protesters, and they said that they came down there to protest about George Floyd, but also, they saw somebody trying to break into the business, and they took it upon themselves as to stand in front of that business and not allow anybody to get in. And the dude that she was actually with, the black guy, he's actually legal to carry. And the guy that slung her out the way, he said to her, well, he said to him, he said, I'm going to shoot you. And at that moment, the dude, he just showed, he was like, look, I'm carrying right now. So they got mad and walked off.
Right.
And threw it was like a smoke firecracker or something like that. And it exploded, and they still stood there. And the camera panned, and you can see them walking down the street, and it's a group of them. This one man even came up and threw something at the lady because she was defending that business, that storefront. And the message that she said, which was pretty powerful, and she basically said, it's not about destroying the businesses. We're going to lose the message inside if we keep allowing people to do this. If we keep allowing people to destroy these businesses, that's what they're going to focus on. She said, this is about George Floyd. This is about the senseless murder of a black man, regardless of what people are trying to say, because they're also trying to say that George Floyd had drugs in the system. Drugs did not kill George Floyd. A cop kneeling on his neck killed him, regardless at the end of the day. And more importantly, and that just goes to speak to people's humanity as well, because if you look at it, even if he was on drugs, because he's on drugs, that means that his life is forfeit?
Right.
I don't think so. It's a lot of people that's on drugs. It's a lot of people in a lot of different walks of life that are on drugs, from Wall Street to middle class to poor and low income.
I'm pretty sure the person in the White House might be on something. He has to be.
And I want to point something else out too. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people who I've heard and I've seen, talk about why the cops were called, why Cup Foods called the cops in the first place. And with the way I feel is enraged at Cup Foods. And, people are scared that, once this blows over, they're going to pretty much have to close down Cup Foods, even though the family has been in the community forever. But this is how I feel. Okay. So George Floyd was with a few people, and he went in to buy something and tried to pay with a $20 bill. And they found out that it was a fake $20 bill. Now, their initial reaction was call the cops. I worked in corporate America for a big banking system. Every day, multiple times a day, people would bring in fake money. And when you take fake money into a bank, they don't call the cops. We never called the cops. No bank calls the cops. What you do is you hold on to the money, you don't give it back, and you let them know, hey, this bill is fake. Where'd you get it from? A lot of people would show me receipts where they just came from a restaurant or a place of business and it was in their change, because people think that businesses can tell fake money apart from real money. The reality is they can't. And some businesses use the little pen. Reality is these people out here have gotten very creative. They're using different paper. A lot of the time that pen will not tell you that it's fake. But at banks, we had the machine that would let us know. The machine would spit it back out and tell us that was a fake dollar bill. And so we would hold it, let them know, well, hey, I can't give this back to you. I'm going to have to file a report. You need to go to wherever you got it. If you got it from a business, you need to go back and let them know that they need to give you a real bill. And the majority of the time they would get upset, but I would let them know this is not the bank's law. This is a federal law that I cannot give this back to you. I have to stop the circulation now. And we would send that money into the Federal Reserve. We would ship it out that same day. Like right then and there, the teller has to go put it in a FedEx envelope and ship out. And so my thing is, if a bank does not call the cops on someone who brings in fake money, why did they? Especially if you're in a predominantly black area and you know how the cops react to black people, why would you do that? I cannot comprehend that. That's what really bothers me. You could have easily just told him, hey man, this is fake. Do you have another bill? No? Okay, does somebody else have another bill? I can't take that. And keep it pushing like many other places do. And so that's my thing. This man died over a fake $20 bill when it didn't have to be that deep. When big financial institutions don't even call the cops, you called the cops on him and he died.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of people who are finding out about that are like, we didn't know that the cops don't call the banks don't call the cops. And I'm like, they don't, because I can't charge you, and I can't tell a cop. I'm sure that they're making the money. Most circulated fake money is passed around through businesses because most people don't check. So it goes in a till and it continues being circulated. But for them to honestly feel like he was such a big problem that they had to call the cops over $20, I can't wrap my mind around that. I can't.
Right. And it's very hard to wrap your mind around that. Um Again, because a person has a certain lifestyle, or their lifestyle has changed to something that's less desirable by the general public, does not mean that you take it upon yourself to be judge and jury and to take the life of a human being. Period.
Exactly, because if not, I'm sure we should all go to jail. I've been to a store, like an actual big chain grocery store, and I got changed and they gave me a fake $50 bill. And because I've worked in the banking institute, I was able to tell it apart right away. And I told the cashier, hey, this one's fake. I need a real one. And still they stood there looking at it and they were like, it looks real. And I'm like, no, it's fake. And so it's like, I just can't.
Right.
Even if
Um,
he was in jail, even let's say that George Floyd wasn't killed and he was taken to jail, that would still be something that I would be so mad about. That why'd you call the cops over $20? I don't understand that.
right.
Because that was you were already judging him. And for all we know, he went somewhere and he got it from another place. Like they were already pretty much judging him, and they were so sure that he was a threat and that he was possibly the one circulating the money that they called the cops on him. And there's a lot of outrage, and I just don't. I don't.
And let's not forget also George Floyd, and I do believe this is my personal opinion, but George Floyd knew the cop that murdered him.
Yep.
They used to work in
Yes,
the same club with each other. The
for
one guy,
years.
right, because George Floyd had only been there for about 3 years, but the cop had been working off duty as an officer in that club. I think it's La Mesa. That's the name of the
Hmm.
club. And he had been working there as an off duty cop for about 17 years. But the difference was the cop that killed him was working the front door and George Floyd was working in the inside. But
But even at that excuse, because I heard when they said that, right? They tried to say that maybe they didn't know each other as well because George Floyd worked in the back and Chauvin worked in the front. So I have a family member who works law enforcement, and every officer, if they want to make extra money, they do side gigs, work security for clubs. They work security for different events, and this family member works as a side job at a club, right? Just like where they worked. The security members and the actual police always talk to each other. Just
Yep.
because
They
one works
know.
in the front and one works in the back, that
right,
don't mean anything. They always talk to each other because they're all security. It don't matter if they have a badge or not. They're all friends. And so my family member was posting on Facebook, which I'm glad for them for speaking out, that I don't understand how you didn't recognize George. You were there for 3 years. These are people that you grow to become friends with, because it doesn't matter if you're in different parts of the club. Y'all are a team. Y'all are all on the same team, because if it gets rowdy in the back, the people from the front will come get you. And so
exactly.
he's made long time best friends with different security guards at different clubs, different events, that they now hang out. And so even he couldn't understand, how did you not, you recognize him, you just didn't like him.
Right. And another thing, I'm gonna put it in layman's terms because I have worked in the club, but that's a different story time. I have worked in the club. My homegirl worked in the club. Actually, my homegirl was the bartender. And I'm telling you, when you working in the club, regardless if it's a nightclub, strip club, cotton club, regardless of any club or establishment or bar, the security, regardless if you're at the front end or the back or inside the back end where the actual club is, you have to communicate with each other. If you ever been to a club and seen like the security and the people at the door with the walkie talkies and someone comes through on the walkie talkie, they're communicating with people in the inside. So you can't sit there and I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact that they have to communicate with each other, because if it's something going on inside the club and they have to push the people out, they have to let the people at the front end that's working the door actually
Mm-hmm.
know what's coming, what's going on, so they can stop letting people come in and they can go in and help the people. You know what I'm saying?
And let's not
Have peace.
forget that before these establishments work open up, there's a huddle, there's a meeting, because the cops and the security need to know
Exactly.
who's working. I need to make sure that I know what security is working. I need to make sure what cop is working. That way I'm not looking for a guy that's possibly off tonight. And to break it down for the babies and for the retards in the back that are still out here saying, well, they worked in different parts of the club, it's possible that they didn't know each other. That's like if me and Madam get in an altercation and Madam takes me out, and Madam is the bartender of the club and I'm the waitress, and Madam saying, I didn't recognize her because I worked the bar, she was a waiter. When waiters always have to go to the bar to get drinks, waiters and bartenders know each other. It's the same thing with the security. So that in itself, what they were trying to say, that maybe he doesn't recognize him because they worked in, that's ridiculous. That's stupid.
It's insane.
So if
It's
you can't
insane. And
comprehend that, it's the same thing as saying a bartender and a waiter don't recognize each other and take each other out because they worked in different titles in a club.
Mm-hmm.
You see these people every day. What is it? I don't understand. Like,
But here's the thing that
Yeah,
people don't realize.
at this point, I believe that they'll use every excuse in the book. For real. Go ahead, Denia. What was you saying?
When it comes to clubs and restaurants, when it comes to security at clubs and restaurants, security can't leave till the club is completely clear. Therefore, every employee of that club, that
Facts.
bar, knows one another. I don't give a damn how many years you've been there, whether the one was there for 17 and one was there for a year. They knew each other because they saw each other, not just in passing, but because they have to close the club together. I've shut down
Exactly.
enough clubs and bars because I'm in entertainment. So I've shut down enough clubs and bars because let me tell you how I know. So when you're in entertainment, typically the entertainers don't get paid till the end of the night. So you have to stay the entire night in order to get your check or cash or whatever the hell it is. Whatever kind of funding you're getting to these people. And you have to make sure that they made enough money at the bar and all that stuff. So, but that being said, every single time we shut down, we're there with the bartenders, the owner of the bar sometimes, and security. So what we
and
not gonna do
and what we're also going to point out is security gets paid last because you still have
that
to make sure that you're watching the waiters and the bartenders make it to their car safely. So you're leaving after everyone else leaves and you're getting paid last.
that
Why?
part.
Right.
Because let's say you work the Saturday night. That does not mean that you're working Sunday night. So you may not be able to come back, or the police officer may not be able to come back. So they get paid after everyone just in case they don't work the next night or they don't have a contract that says that they get paid after 2 days after the whole weekend. But from what I know from my family member who's a cop that works, he gets paid every night. And because most police officers and security guards don't just work one place a night, they can work up to as many jobs as they want a night.
Exactly.
So they pay them after everyone.
And
Mhm.
also, I just wanted to add as well, you can't forget the after parties that go on at the bar and stuff closes.
That
And
part.
that's the thing, because a lot of those same security guards, regardless if they work the front or the back, they will go to a different club and work that club as well. And
Hmm.
it happens. And another thing that I need to point out also, security guards are paid less than what everybody else gets paid in the club.
Facts.
They are getting paid less. I'm talking from $60 to up to probably like $120, if that.
That's insane.
And that's not
And
every night.
while they're waiting to get paid, guess where they're at? They're standing inside, huddled around, just talking to each other.
Exactly.
There's no reason for them to be in the front and the back if the place is already shut down. They're all inside, shooting the shit, waiting to get their paychecks.
Exactly. And
So
you
you can't tell me that he didn't recognize him or didn't know him
right.
because George Floyd, he was a big man. He was tall. He was muscular, and he had certain features that when you see him, you recognize him right off the bat. And his voice is very like it's unique. So that is someone that you would recognize him. You worked with him for years. You've most likely been there the whole time with him, shooting the shit, getting paid together. He knew him and he still did that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you got to look at it. A lot of people are hearing what they hearing on the news and stuff like that, and people are just taking that shit for face value. Anybody that's worked in the club, anybody, I don't care. Even if you have a friend or a cousin that's a stripper at the club, they can tell you how the routine fucking goes. Okay? Regardless if it's security or you working inside the club, if you have friends that bartend, and stuff like that. They can tell you the procedure of how it goes in the club. So them merely saying that, oh, they may not have known each other, and it's very interesting that the lady of La Mesa, the La Mesa Club, which is now closed down, and in addition to it being a club, they also run a radio station over top of that club as well. So the thing is with that is, you can't tell me that these two men didn't cross paths and didn't know each other before.
Right.
And then it's video coming out, the new video that came out showing that the cop that murdered him, they were fighting in the car. He was actively abusing George Floyd in the car because they closed the door and they pulled him out on the other side. And another thing that people need to be aware of also, if you take a look at that video, the car is running the whole time.
One thing I want to say is they weren't fighting. They were beating the dog shit out of him inside the car. They
Right.
put him in one end while Tao
Mm-hmm.
was the lookout, and he came out the other end where he was also getting beat up, and there was another lookout on that end before they threw him on the floor, and
Right.
then they all sat on him.
But another thing, in that video, the squad car is running. His face is right there by the exhaust. I don't need to tell y'all what breathing in exhaust from a car can do to you.
And we also need to point out that George Floyd was sitting in his car in front across the street of Cup Foods, and the cops saw the cameras that that restaurant had, and they walked him across the street to where the other cop car was, which was sitting right next to Cup Foods, because I don't know if they saw Cup Foods has cameras as well.
Right.
So they actually walked him across the street thinking that they were going to get out of some line of coverage, and then we're now seeing all of this other coverage. I want to know, why did he get walked to another cruiser?
Right. And then another thing,
There was two cruisers right next to his car.
right, Officer Tao. Now, this is the thing about Officer Tao. This is why I say that all of them is complacent, and I commend the police chief in Minneapolis coming out and actually saying that they were complacent. All of them were complacent because when they walked to George Floyd across the street, General Tao, Sergeant Tao got into his car and did a U-turn in the middle of the street, and he moved his car in position so the camera where they were could not see what was going on. Did y'all peep that in the video?
Yep. Because it's always, from what we're seeing, Tao is the fellow lookout.
Exactly. And this motherfucker say, oh yeah, kids, don't do drugs. So that's basically telling you, that's a mission right there. I always say, don't listen to what people say, listen to how people say it. So if they already knew Floyd, how would they know that he was on drugs or not?
Right.
How did they know if he was on drugs or not? Why would Sergeant Tao make that statement? See, kids, don't do drugs.
Exactly.
So there was some sense of knowing who Floyd was when they executed that man. They assassinated that man. They lynched that man in broad fucking daylight. It is people out here that are traumatized from seeing that. Y'all have to understand that this is not something that is still happening. And then we have a commander in chief that glorifies these type of acts, calling people thugs.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's a problem because all the races are coming together and they're fighting against one injustice. Well, many injustice, but the message is still the same. You just replace the name. That's all.
And another thing is that we need to shift our focus toward the police unions, because
Yes.
these police unions are operating under laws and regulations that they instilled a long time ago. They have not been updated. So the real culprits here as to why the other three people have not been arrested is because of the protection that they have under the police union. Police union laws make it so that if they get fired, the county has to pay them out, and they can get hired. They can either get rehired in Minneapolis PD, or they can go to another county over and get hired. So we really need to start working and putting the pressure on these police unions, because we're in that discussion of, we need to change the way policing happens in America. Our focus needs to be on the police unions. We need
Yep.
to put pressure on them to change their laws, because they are the ones who protect these cops, find a way to pay these cops, to rehire these cops when they have murdered someone, when they are doing injustices, when they get written up for doing something that they're not supposed to do. That's who we need to go after next, is the police unions. I understand that there has to be a union, because without a union, when you're in a trade, you can get overworked, you can get, labor, they can labor you wrong, but that union needs to be held accountable for what their union members are doing. You don't just get to give them a big payout, a slap on the wrist, and get them hired somewhere else when you know what these people have done. So that's where we need to go next. That's where all the focus needs to shift after we get justice for Floyd, is towards these police union. And it's not just the Minneapolis police union, it's every police union, because they all have these laws and regulations to protect these cops. And what they're doing is they're failing in getting these cops the proper psych evaluations, where we can find out who is mentally right to be a police officer. Because a lot of these cops have either PTSD, they're vets who come back with PTSD, and they're the ones who are trigger happy or shoot too fast, or are working communities that they're fearful of or that they have hatred for. Your psych evaluations are obviously not working. These people are slipping through the cracks. And that that justice, what it looks like, is these unions changing their laws, their regulations, and then taking a step back and looking at every officer who has had a complaint or something against them. And if what has against them is some type of, injustice to a human being, no matter what the skin color is, they gotta go. We gotta wipe them out. There's no giving a second chance to a person like that, because Chauvin had 18 chances. 16 of those, they looked the other way. Only 2 of those he had write-ups for until he murdered George Floyd.
Facts. Facts. And it's a long history. Over his 18 years, this man has been in the force for 18 years. And of the 18 years he's been in the force, he has gotten 18 complaints, 2 of which he was reprimanded for. You're absolutely right, Zarina. And the thing about that, how many chances does a person need to mess up before you say, hey, look, listen, you don't need to be out in the general public serving people? Because it becomes a thing where you're not serving the public, and you're not doing what you need to do in the interest of protecting the public. And that's what a police officer is. They have an oath, and he has broken that oath so many times, and so many others have broken that oath so many times. It's time for those people to be held accountable. It's time for the cops, the good cops, to come out and speak out and say, now is the time to do that. Now you have a voice. Now you have a platform. I've seen several cops. I've seen cops kneeling with protesters. I've seen in Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Jersey, the cops were actually walking with the police. I mean, the police were actually walking with the protesters. and that
Yeah.
and people cops are taking knees and putting down their batons and their riot gear, and they are actively walking with the people in solidarity, and we cannot let that message get lost. There are some good cops out here. There are, and they're starting to speak out. And that's the only thing that I wanted to see from the beginning. I know there are some good cops in this world. There,
There are good cops in the world. The problem is that the anger that falls with good cops is there is a fear when you work law enforcement or any type of, where you're like an officer of the peace, or you're a firefighter. The good people are always scared to talk against the people that they know are corrupt, because normally the way it works, there's a group of corruption and there's other people just watching them and walking on eggshells. The reason why they're so scared is because of the laws that the police unions have. Because
Yeah.
if you speak out against your fellow officer, it launches an investigation, the DA gets involved, and then you face retaliation from everyone else. And that's what I'm saying. It's backwards. It should be like they should be more scared to do it, so because corrupt cops do this in the open. They don't care who's watching them because they know that other cops are feel fearful of reporting them. And they know that if they report them, they can retaliate against them within the same thing, within the
right.
same organization. And those bad guys always have protection from police unions, and more than once, we have seen police officers speak out against corruption. And what happens to that police officer? They get fired. And then if they
Not
live in that
only did they get
community,
fired,
there's retaliation. Then people start
right?
telling you, you better watch your back.
Detective Sutton.
So why is it that when we
Yeah,
have good police officers who speak out against corruption, that they get fired right away? But the people like Chauvin, who gets 18 things against them for misconduct, they get to go so long before they until they murder someone.
yeah, and
That's what I'm saying. The
yeah,
police unions are very much at fault. And I also want to point something else out. The police chief that Minneapolis has right now, the reason why he is the police chief is because the police chief before him, there was so many wrong things happening in the Minneapolis Police Department. He kept speaking out, nothing got done, and he resigned. That's why they have the police chief that they have now.
yeah,
That other person couldn't get nothing done. Nobody was listening to him. I'm sure he was there when Chauvin was getting all of these things against him that were happening, and there was nothing that that man felt he could do. When you're the police chief and you can't get your team together, you can't clean up house, and you get so frustrated to the point to where you're like, F this, I'm leaving, that's a big red flag.
All right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And
It's
the thing
crazy.
about it, a lot of cops, and it's fair to also point out that a lot of cops um were killed. Detective Sutton, actually, a family member of mine is friends with the wife of Detective Sutton that was killed down here in Baltimore, and he was from New York. He was a good cop. They murdered him in the back of my mother's alleyway
Wow.
where my mom used to live at. They murdered this man because he was due to testify against the Baltimore City Police Department's task force because they were walking around, and this is not nothing new. This has been said on the news and everything. It's video of these cops planting drugs and guns and other weapons, knives and stuff like that onto people that they were arresting. Some people in some places would call them knockers. We call them knockos down here, or knockers. You know, so yeah,
George Floyd was a victim of that
yeah,
here
Exactly.
yeah,
in Houston.
Yeah. And that's the sad thing about it, because when will this stop? They don't value the lives of the citizens that they were sworn, took an oath to protect, and they don't respect the lives of the other people that work alongside them as colleagues. It's a death wish if you're a police officer in some precincts. If you're a police officer and you want to speak out, it's a death sentence, literally. Man, the internet is filled and littered with cops speaking out. It was cops speaking out when Eric Gardner got killed. It was cops speaking out when Trayvon Martin got killed. It was cops speaking out when so many other Tia Wilson and Sandra Bland. It was so many cops speaking out, but it got swept underneath of the rug.
Yep.
And that's what.
because of the police union. So, with justice for George, we can see change, but we need to put the pressure on the police unions. And many people are like, so we're going to get justice and we're going to what? Make our lawmakers change the law and then what? No, we need to make the police unions change their laws. We
Exactly.
need them to clean up their own house. They need to go back and look at all these officers who have so many tallies against them, who have so many lives on their hands, and they need to get rid of them. I don't want to see another write up, because if me and you are working at a job and I do something wrong, I'm gonna get a warning. If tomorrow I do something wrong, I'm gonna get a write up. If the day after that, I can do a week of wrong things and then I'm gonna get fired on Monday. Why do
Exactly.
these cops get to do this thing over and over? If regular everyday people, we get warnings, we get write-ups, and then we get fired, then they need to be out. I don't if any cop has more, if they have one incident and it's something like this, they need to get them out. I don't want to hear that you took
Yeah.
them to get psychological evaluation, that they're on meds, that they're better. No, no, no. Get them out. Review your cops and get them out. Those people do not have to be law enforcement. They are not there to protect the community that they're watching over. They've done so much wrong. You need to get them out. And we also have a lot of white nationalists that are part of there. You need to do better. You guys need to do better as a police union to make sure that you're backing the right people. Because the way we feel right now, the police unions they're full of alt right people, neo Nazis, and white nationalists, and that's all across America. We just saw that video of the protesting that happened 2 days ago in New York, and this white officer walks up to a protest and he throws the white nationalist sign at him.
Yeah,
Get
I
him
see
out.
that too. Yeah. I
They
see
need to
that
get
too.
him. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
what did the officers around him do? Throw it right back and laugh. And all the black people, all our Latino people out there are just looking at them like, did he really just walk up and do that in front of the camera? And smiling really big, throwing the W.
And see, this is the thing that people need to start calling out. And I'm glad that so many people have been courageous enough to actually speak out, or if not speak out verbally, let their film and their footage speak for them. I mean, in New York City, there was also a cop, a female protester. She was screaming Black Lives Matter, and he walked over there and shoved her so hard she spent around and hit her head on the ground.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And another thing that I want to point out, Stefan and Renee Biscotti, they donated $1 million to the foundation for various social justice groups in the wake of the custody and death of George Floyd in Minneapolis last week. And we also have a lot of celebrities that's coming out. J. Cole came out in protest. Uh,
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx came out. John Cusack came out. A lot of famous people are starting to speak up, and a lot are not. Even Beyonce came out and did something and spoke about the injustice for George Floyd. Well, you know, B gonna be
Girl, don't get me started on Beyonce.
Yeah.
We're gonna skip over that one. Snoop Dogg spoke out. Ice Cube.
yeah, Ice Cube
Here in
spoke out.
Houston, all our local rappers are in
Yeah,
Minneapolis. Bun B, Trey the Truth, Paul Wall, Baby Bash. They're all over there because they all knew Floyd. And so
yeah,
they're all over there. You know, a lot of our Houston rappers come from the Fifth Ward. They come from the Third Ward where Floyd grew up, where he was such a big part of our community. You know,
yeah,
here in Houston, I don't think a lot of people know how much Floyd did. Floyd was part of a lot of communities here in the Third Ward. Which, if you ever come to Houston, um, I'll show you the wards. It's where a lot of our people, Latinos, predominantly Black people, live in the wards, um, and they're so tight knit. You know, they're all about their community, and so Floyd worked with different organizations in the community to help the community do better. They would organize basketball events. He helped a lot of the local churches carry things out to where they were doing baptisms for free and help young men in the community you know get baptized. He did a lot of things like that, and that's what he's known for here, is helping and volunteering. And so a lot of people who we hear on the radio, who we see millions of views on YouTube for their music videos, they knew George Floyd. And
Right.
so it hits really really close to home for us to hear that. And so
Yeah.
yeah, all of our local celebrities are out there in Minneapolis right now. They've donated so much money. George Floyd's family's here in Houston, and so we're pretty much just loving on them as much as we can, showing them that we're behind them 100% of the way. We have Houston Police Department, which I've talked to y'all about, is has really bad apples here as well. But luckily, our chief of police, Art Acevedo, he's made headlines over and over again for calling Trump out and cussing him out. He did it today. They were down. Our cops were down protesting with us, marching, hands up. We had the National Guard, but they didn't use it. Our chief of police was amongst us, saying, if you see rioters breaking into business, call me. And so, we're taking care of Floyd's family as much as we can.
Right.
But we need to see more of that.
Also, Zarina, can you speak on? I don't know if it was you or Denia that we were talking about earlier about Donald Trump being impeached and he doesn't have the power to command that the states individual
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
states take physical lawful action. Go if one of your I don't know which
He
one.
doesn't
I
have
think
the power as against the Constitution, all that. Like Congress, it has to go through Congress. Congress ain't gonna. Congress wants to get back in office. This fool's brain is up. These people been in office for like 30, 40 years. They ain't trying to. What? No.
So when originally when the impeachment was happening against Donald Trump, they weren't able to remove him from office, but they were able to take away certain powers that he has. And one of those powers were the powers that he wouldn't be able to enact big laws, something, because at the time he was trying to do the travel bans against certain people. And so that would take away his power to be able to do his laws, that he does in the name of racism, basically.
yeah,
And so when today he was talking about putting us under martial law, I was like, hold up. Technically, he can't do that. So me and Denia were having a conversation, and Denia was like, he can't. He's speaking as if he can, and he is, but technically he can't. And so in order to enact martial law, it has to get passed in the House, and we already know it's not going to make it out of
right,
out of the House of Representatives.
right, and
And
yeah. I just wanted to say real quickly, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and it was a couple of other senators in the House that actually pushed forth and made that happen, where he cannot enact, certain big laws. But go ahead,
Right.
Sabrina.
Yeah, so that's basically because I was fumed. We were all upset, but then I was like, hold up, I don't think you
You
can do
can't.
that.
No, you can't.
And now we have like people who are in the National Guard because he's talking. Basically, what he's saying is if our governors and mayors don't use the National Guard instead of the police, that he's going to put into law to where he can do it. Basically, go into martial law to where the police don't matter no more, and it's what he says. But technically, he can't do that because of the impeachment that he has against him.
That's
So when the
dictatorship.
impeachment happened, yeah, it was basically stated that he is only a sitting duck. He's basically just sitting there until he gets elected out of office, and even if he stays in office, he's still a sitting duck. He can't do anything like that anymore. And so all of these generals and lieutenants in the National Guard are on TV right now talking about they're not going to take orders from him. They're
No.
not going to do it.
Right.
And
But
I want to put this out that earlier today there was a lot of peaceful protesting because earlier in the day George Floyd's brother went to Minneapolis, and they had like he was there and he was talking to the protesters, and he was stating that he doesn't want to see any rioting or looting in the name of his brother. He said we need to find a way to do this in other ways, and that's by voting and peaceful protesting. So he called in. He was telling everyone, you need a peaceful protest. I'm done with seeing the rioting and the looting. That's not what my family's about. We are a peaceful family and God fearing family, and everyone got that message. So the protesters in Washington, D.C. were peacefully protesting. Nobody was antagonizing the cops. All of a sudden, the cops just start ramming into people, firing bullets, rubber bullets at them, and tear gas, and, just harassing them. And come to find out, it was because the president wanted a photo op in front of the church that was right there where the
exactly.
protesters were, and he wanted a picture by himself, and he wanted to take a picture with his family, which Melania and her son were MIA, by the way. And Trump was holding the Bible upside down and backwards, so there's that.
Girl,
um,
that's a whole nother live.
Child. Goodness.
so that
Marking
that
God.
happened, and the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C., who is over St. John's Church, where Trump took his picture, came on CNN and was livid and was talking out against the government and out against Trump right after the speech he had at the Rose Garden, where he was talking about martial law. And they are saying that they are with the people, that they are not for Trump, and that martial law is not the way to go.
No.
So you have the
Right.
Archdiocese of the church that you just had the cops take down all these protesters so that you could take a picture, speak out against you. That spoke volumes.
Yeah, it speaks volumes. And the thing about that, you have to understand one thing also about uh, Trump. He praises dictators. Kim Jong Un, the ones over in the Middle East that's killing their own people. He praises these people,
Yep.
and they rule out of fear. He has said this on countless of occasions. Trump wants to be a dictator. He wants to have a dictatorships, and we all know how that shit go.
Right.
He's even said it in the past.
Yeah.
And that is something really funny, and it's really hypocritical of him because he is so against Bernie Sanders, because every time he talks about Bernie, he brings up that Bernie and the movement is called what's it called, Denida? They're not they're socialists. Yes, exactly.
Socialism.
Social Democrats. And so he always picks at him and says, basically, Bernie Sanders is a dictator. Okay. But we got to remember back to when he had just gotten elected in 2017. He made the comment that maybe having a dictator in the United States wouldn't be so bad. And we all know that after martial law comes dictatorship. So you knock on a Democrat for calling themselves a socialist and you labeling them a dictator, but that's where you want us to go.
Right.
With him as the forefront. That's very telling, and I just can't wait for November.
Yeah. Who you telling, hon?
Because he's got to go. I'm over it.
He's got to go all the way right now.
And I think more people are saying it. So what I'm hoping is that all the craziness will be like, hey, so y'all going to the voting polls, right?
And for the gun-toting, NRA-loving, Trump MAGA hat wearing Republican in this nation, they should be the most outraged right now. Because
Yep.
one thing that they always state is that no one is going to take away their guns, especially here in Texas. You know, it's all about come and get it out of my arms, you know. And if that's what you believe in by him instating martial law, you should be furiated. You should be out in the streets right now with your guns, because at that point you guys become the people's military, because martial law is everything that these gun lovers are against.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want the government in their backyard, because martial law gives them the right to bust down your door, come in and take everything. And so that should infuriate them to the point to where he's talking like that. You elected this guy, you went and voted for this guy, he's enacting martial law. He thinks he is, just like his upside down Bible. But you should be the most mad. We should see a lot of these gun lovers out in the streets right now, more of them out in the streets than the people protesting George Floyd, pissed off with their guns. You need to be in front of the protest. Like, you know, like when they went to march against the Capitol for COVID-19, they were wearing the battle straps. They had the bullets across their chest and their back, with their flags, with their AR-15, with their bottle rockets, with their missile launchers. You guys need to be out in front of the cops and the National Guard pushing back, because what he's doing goes against their morals. So I'm anxious to see how they respond, because I'm sure right now in a lot of households across America, a lot of these gun-toting people are having that conversation. And I can't believe that son of a bitch did that. So where are they? I need to see y'all out there in the streets right now. Y'all, because it's always been said that when we go into martial law, these gun-toters are going to become the people's army. So we need y'all out there right now.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see if they'll go against their Dr. Seuss president.
Right. I hope so, and I hope they get a clue and understand that we are not the enemy here. We really aren't. I tried to tell you before, but we're really not the enemy. The enemy is these people that want to oppress everyone. It's just sad. It's heartbreaking. It's frustrating.
Okay, so I'm up here looking up the thing that Keisha said.
Insurrection Act.
Insurrection Act. It said it authorizes the president to employ armed forces during a national disaster or terrorist attack. So you mean to tell me that he's calling the protesters terrorists?
We're domestic terrorists. That's what he's stating. We are domestic terrorists. In the same speech where he says, I am an ally of the protesters, he calls us domestic terrorists. And at the same time, he's trying to go ahead and pass something to where he can officially place Antifa as a terrorist organization. And so he's calling us terrorists. But when the school shooters or the movie shooters happen, those people are they have mental health issues. They're not domestic terrorists. We're domestic terrorists for protesting, but when these white people come into these, I'm going to say it the way it is. I don't care who gets upset. I mean, if you get upset, you get upset. And if you don't, then you understand what I'm saying. But these white people come into these movie theaters, go to these garlic festivals, go into these schools, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, nurseries and shoot up all these people, they have mental health issues and they're not labeled a domestic terrorist. And we don't hear that from him. When we have these white nationalists drive through the streets and take down people because they're part of an alt-right organization, he says there was good people on both sides. That's what we get from him.
That
But
part.
we're domestic terrorists for marching for our rights. I'm
I
so
forgot
over
what
him.
on both sides comment. There were so many. There's so many comments. I just get. I've lost track on how many times this fool has said so many ignorant things. I have lost track.
Right, Keisha, Dr. Seuss. That's what I was telling Denia. He's out there standing with the Bible. First off, the Bible's upside down. Second, he has it backwards. I'm like, somebody should have just gave him. They should have just gave him a Dr. Seuss book. He wouldn't know the difference.
But this is the thing too, for all you God-fearing people out there that may be listening. Hey, problem child. To hold the Bible upside down and backwards is mocking God. I want y'all to know that. He's mocking God.
Yep.
But go ahead.
Facts.
I'm still waiting. You know, the Church of Satan, I love them. God, you know, bless their hearts. I love them. They are trolls in the most beautiful way when they need to be it, you know, and they speak up against inhumane justice. I was like, if they could just grab that picture of him holding that Bible upside down and put the caption, Hell Satan, I will be forever happy. Because someone's going to show it to him like, did you know you had it upside down? And, you know, this is who the majority of the Republicans who voted for Trump, it's because they're Christians. And we all know that come, you know, time for voting, these Christian organizations, I don't care what type of Christian you are, whether you're a Mormon, whether you're Christian, like non-denominational, where you're Catholic, they always start talking about the Republican and pushing the Republican agenda and telling their congregations to vote Republican because they want to keep their tax exemption. And that was basically the agreement that they came to with the government under Nixon, and then under Reagan. So they always preach to their masses that you need to vote Republican because I guess Jesus is a Republican. I guess God is a Republican. And so these idiots go out there and vote Republican. And so if you're a Christian and you didn't side-eye that after you voted him in office, something's wrong with you. If the man doesn't know a book, a Bible upside down from right, I don't know what to tell you, man. And I have never known Donald Trump to be a Christian. I know they try to push that agenda too, that he is a Christian. I mean, was he praising the Lord when he was at the Playboy Mansion? Let me know. Was he praising the Lord when he was out there grabbing them by the what?
Yeah, partying with Jeffrey Epstein. Check out Anonymous
on Epstein Island.
Shout out to Anonymous. Let's take a moment to give respect to Anonymous. Anonymous, if you ain't on Twitter, you need to get on Twitter because Anonymous dropped. Not only did they take over the Minneapolis PD's whole website and release email addresses of all the people that work there.
Email addresses and passwords.
Yeah. They also took the liberty of disclosing Trump's legal situation and his relationship with Jeff Epstein.
We should read that. Actually, you know what? I guess because of everything that's happening, and you know, you may not be able to find it anymore because when I went again to go look on Twitter, it looks like Twitter's removing what Anonymous drops, which of course they always do, but you know, people get screenshots. We should go over that because those court documents.
We got the screenshot.
Those court documents are against Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And if you have Netflix, there is a documentary that came out right now called Filthy Rich, and it's a documentary done on Jeffrey Epstein. You need to go watch it. And they talk to all of the survivors who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his partner. He was with a woman, Gilliam. And in that, those survivors talk about Donald Trump. They talk about Bill Clinton. They talk about Chris.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Oh, don't cut out Zarina.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you. Go. We can hear you. Yes.
Up until what point did y'all hear me?
Near the end.
Shoot.
Yes, so there is, if you have Netflix, I was saying you need to watch that documentary on there called Filthy Rich. It's the story of Jeffrey Epstein and his partner Gilliam. And they basically sit down and talk to all of the survivors who are also the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And those survivors talk about Donald Trump. They talk about Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton. They talk about Prince Andrew. It's very telling.
Yeah.
And then go and look up the screenshots of everything that Anonymous dropped, all the lawsuits against Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And in those lawsuits, those are minors suing them because Jeffrey Epstein was running a human trafficking ring of minors. He has an island, and in that island, it was known as Orgy Island. He would take these women, well, these children who were underage, and big time politicians, including Prince Andrew, including Donald Trump, would go there. And these people are speaking out. It's on Netflix right now. If you have not seen it, you need to go see it, because I think a lot of people hear about Jeffrey Epstein, but they don't know what's the relationship that he had with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump came out and said that he really didn't know him. No, he knew him enough to where there's a lawsuit against him, and that's what Anonymous just dropped on everybody.
Yep.
I'm dropping the link to Twitter. Hey, Karen Soul Babe. I'm dropping the link to Twitter in the chat. Anybody that wants to go look at it, anybody that wants to go see it, I urge you to go fucking look at it. Okay, all the stuff they did kill the link, but they have a redirection link, and I'm going to drop that into the chat.
Crazy. Just absolutely insane. Just absolutely insanity.
Yeah, so if y'all want to go check that out, please go check that out. It's a very interesting situation. I'm telling you. Matter of fact, hope. No, see, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that on your page.
Right. I'm like, yeah, it's not put the whole thing out there right now.
No, I just dropped the link. That's all.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. I need to get a Patreon or maybe I can just sound on Periscope. Periscope don't care. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. It's just insane.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
heartbreaking.
People need to understand that it's not just about fighting for black lives that matter, brown lives that matter anymore. It's a situation where we have no choice but to come together as individuals. Unique as we all are, we have to come together. We have to unite.
Right.
So
Just it's sad. It's just really, really sad because
You know,
What,
um,
what's so sad about this whole situation is that it wasn't one thing that ignited this whole problem, right? So, like, George Floyd came after Karen, calling the cops on Christian Cooper, came after, and then we had the. So wait, I'm trying to remember how many acts happened at once that fueled this. Was it Breonna Taylor that came right after that, or was that before? Karen called the cops. I forget if it was before or after because there's so much going on at once. Um, but it was just such a combination of things happening back to back to back. And then, of course, Ahmaud Arbery. Like, there's just so many things that happened at once, and people are spent. People were already spent before. We're beyond spent now. We're beyond stressed out. We have no more tears to cry at this point. And then this person that's in the White House occupant, put the freaking kill button on protesters. Like, I'm not understanding this.
All
I
right, I'm
don't.
back.
and the
I went to go
FYI,
check. Yeah, everything's been removed from Anonymous's account. I can't find it.
no, did you click the link in the chat?
Oh, you found it? Okay.
Click the link in the chat. It's going to redirect you to a thread.
Okay, I see it. All right.
But what was I going to
Okay,
say?
so I'm seeing Caring Soul's comment. She says, "Hi, ladies. I've been listening and I'm offended. Lumping all people who believe in God as a Republican or 45 supporter is very unfair. My religious beliefs have nothing to do with my political beliefs." So, first off, I'm sorry you were offended. I'm not trying to offend you. Um, Let me try to explain this a little better. So this goes way back, guys, which it would have to happen on a whole nother stream, because if we get into it now, it's gonna be like take forever to explain. You can look this up. There's also documentaries on this. Back when Reagan was running, um, they were trying to find a way to get him to win, and the Christian organizations wanted tax exemption. And so they were trying to find a way, like, how can we get tax exemption and convince him to do it if he wins? And someone said, well, his wife is against abortion. And so it became like one of their main focal points where they were like, okay, so we're going to let him know we are going to go ahead and speak out more against abortion. They were already talking, every Christian organization, the Christian umbrella is big. I'm talking about a lot of them. It wasn't just one, like non-denominational or Catholic, but it was basically all of them were talking together. Like, they all want tax exemption. So they were like, what we're going to do is push this anti-abortion agenda out there and get it out and say, this is the candidate who's going to do it. You need to vote Republican, because they uphold Christian beliefs. And so this campaign started where all of these Christian organizations began doing that, and they helped put him in office. And ever since then, it's always been the same thing. A lot of Christian organizations, churches, come election time, they start talking to their masses about voting Republican, because they still instill the same thing, that voting Republicans uphold Christian values. Democrats do not. I'm not saying that everyone who is a Christian is a Republican.
No, that is so
That's
no.
not
Because
the
I have
way
a freaking
I'm
mind.
saying.
Mm.
There are people who are Christian who do not fall for it, and who believe, who have their own political beliefs and vote how they want. I'm
Right.
saying come election time, You need to step back and look at the bigger picture, because they all do it because they want to make sure that they maintain tax exemption. That's why all the Republican um, big Christian leaders were there praying for Trump. They're the ones who uphold that Republicans uphold Christian values. I'm not making this up. I grew up in a non denominational household. A lot of my family members are pastors, they have churches. I have seen this my whole life. I have heard the way they talk, and it's very bothersome to me. It got to the point to where I wasn't okay with that, because I feel like if you're going to talk politics in a church, then you need to talk about all of the platforms. You need to talk about the Republicans. You need to talk about the Democrats. You need to talk about the Green Party. I want to hear you talk about all of them. Bring in people who talk about their platforms and give people a fair chance. But that's not what has happened. And I've gone to many different churches, and they only talk about the Republican agenda. Now, every now and then, or you may find a church where they don't do that. We're there for equality. Vote how you vote. These are the facts. We don't care about your political views. But big Christian organizations, they care about their tax exemption. And so I'm not saying all 45 supporters are MAGA and that they all voted Republican, or that they're all Christian. I'm not saying that. But those are the facts. When it comes to come voting time, you see a lot of Christian organizations pushing more that agenda towards the Republicans, because this stems from our history of a while back. Go back to the days of Reagan. There's also a documentary of that on Netflix. I try to send people to like sources that they go to that's more modern, instead of having them look up older sources, but they basically lay out everything. And so I'm not trying to offend you saying that your political beliefs are, the same as everyone else because you're Christian. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that basically that's the agenda they have. And I'm
That's the agenda
sorry
they.
if it sounds like that, but it is. I'm happy that there's people who think for themselves and they're like, I'm not going to buy into the agenda. I'm happy that there's churches out there that don't do that, because there is, and we're starting to see more of them. And I hope that happens. I want them to be more transparent. I don't want you to sway people one way. Talk to them about every platform. It should be about like that. I mean, but we also have a constitution that says there should be a separation of church and state, but that doesn't happen in America.
Right.
And so I hope that helps her understand a little bit more of what I was trying to say. Um, she also says, and questioning a person because they are gun carriers as being an NRA supporter is also not right. I have a FOID and carry and conceal. I'm not questioning a person because they're gun carriers. I myself am a gun carrier. I have my license to carry. So does my husband. Like I stated, we have law enforcement in our family. Pretty much we are all gun carriers. I am stating that the people who are part of these gun groups who shout out, I know we have a lot of them here in Texas and in other states that we've seen, that shout out, come and get them, that the government is not going to take their guns. Those people who are very radical, that are more about their guns than a human life, which we've seen these groups come out anytime there's a mass shooting. They don't want laws imposed against their guns. They want less. They'll lash out more for a gun over a human life. Those groups, they have always stated that if we go into martial law, they're going to riot. They're going to lose it, because when you're in martial law, the government has the right to kick down your door and come in and take what you got. That's part of martial law. And so they've always said they will not allow that. So I'm saying, if you are part of those radical groups, you need to be just as enraged about what's going on as we do. If you don't care about George Floyd, if you don't care about marching with the protesters, then that should enrage you, that you have a president that you may have voted in who is talking about doing something that you are against.
Right. I mean, I
And
think
so I want to know, all of those people who always shouted out that if we go into martial law, they're going to be the people's army. Where are you at? Where are you at right now? This is your
Right.
time. You're not marching with us for the life of a man lost. But look
Right.
what he just stated. He's talking about going against us with martial law. That's what a lot of these groups believe about. I'm not stating that everyone who's part of an NRA or any type of gun group thinks the same. There's people who don't. I don't. I don't believe like that. And I have my license. But I'm saying those people who do and who are so radical that they care more about laws against bump stocks versus the law versus the life of a child who just got shot down in a school, or a loved one who got shot down in a movie theater, or people at a concert in Las Vegas. Where are those people at? Where are those radical people at? We need to see you out there. Are you just about the talk, or are you going to walk the walk? Now is your time to shine. Where are you at? So that's where I'm saying.
Check
And
him
I'm
out.
not saying it to offend anyone. I just think it wasn't like I didn't explain it too right.
Karen Soul says, I also understand, but speaking over everyone, a whole lot of bothersome. It's bothersome to her. You can offend your audience, and it depends on where you're from. My state is Democratic,
Right,
so
Illinois is
that's not
Democratic.
across
Yeah.
the border true. I think she was agreeing with you. And she said, being ex-military, I'm about humanity because so many speak about what they don't know or
And have
have
not.
not seen.
Very true.
Okay. Yeah.
Very true. You know, actually, yeah, Illinois definitely is Democratic, and so we know our governor can't stand 45, our mayor can't stand 45.
Hmm.
You know, I think what I said was so crazy
Right.
right
And
now.
there
Yeah.
are mayors and governors that's coming out. Cuomo spoke out against this. Um, a couple of governors and mayors have came out and already said that
Of course,
they're not going to comply with that. So
Karen. So if you want to jump in, I can definitely drop the link in the chat if you want to talk about kind of like talk.
Yeah,
I
because I
would
think
love to.
she's
Oh my God,
trying
you're
to.
ex-military. I would love to
I
get your
think
opinion on the situation being
I
ex-military.
think she's thinking that I'm talking about like everyone. I'm not talking about everyone.
Right,
I live also in a democratic city, but we still have our radical people, just like everywhere. I'm
right.
speaking about these radical people. I'm not lumping everyone together. If I was, we probably wouldn't be
yeah,
having this
drop the link,
conversation right now.
Nanaya. So
Okay.
hopefully she'll come and
Yeah.
explain, because that would be a very interesting take given the fact that she's ex-military,
Yeah.
and
Please.
you know
Especially with people trying to declare martial
your
law.
opinion would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, because it's insane. It's just insane what we're going through right now. It really, really is. It's
Yeah, so
kind of crazy.
um
It's frustrating.
and this and Karen Wool said, Karen Soul said,
It's oh god.
the war and killing my beautiful black people is so disgusting.
Okay.
It is killing me at this time. She says she's at work. Oh
Oh
no,
no,
that's
no,
fine,
no
Karen
apologies,
Soul.
no,
That's
please, but
that's fine. But one day we
we would
even
love to
if
have
we
that
get her
conversation with you, please. 'Cause I
platform
would
and
love to
Naya's
know.
or mine's, we would love to have you on to get your
Yes.
take on
Oh
it
my god.
right now. You
So
know,
no apologies necessary. Not at all. Not at all. We love you to death.
from
We love your opinions. We appreciate you.
right,
For
right. Right, and my
for
stepfather, he fought in the Gulf War. He has a couple of medals and stuff like that. So, like coming from a military family, I definitely understand. Um, trust and believe. I definitely understand. It's things that we have not, as the general public, have not been privy to that can traumatize. The mere fact that you have experienced something, the things that you have experienced, and you still have a sane and rational mind
man.
speaks volumes. Um, So let me just say that it speaks volumes because everybody don't come back, the way that they used to be.
They don't.
War changes people, and war never changes. Only the names. So most definitely. Okay, that's fine, Karen. So no problem. That's no problem at all. Um. Oh. It's just like I said, we as people, regardless background, orientation, gender, we need to come together. Now is the time. All this petty squabbling over this and that and this and that. This man wants to become a dictatorship, and he is seizing the moment right now as we speak. And we need to come together. We can't really do anything as far as individuals. We all need to come together as a collective to try to make things right and do things the right way. So uh, yeah, pretty much. Oh, FYI, a 7 o'clock curfew was given by 45.
Mm-hmm.
And as we speak, they are still out there in the streets. They are still protesting. They are still trying to get their message across. And it's people still out there to right now as we speak, and that speaks volumes as well. They're still going forward. They're still remaining strong and getting their point across. So that tells you right there, if we come together, we can do some amazing things, man.
Yeah.
Just because we live in a free country doesn't mean that we still don't have to fight. We can't fight for it. We have the say. So um I don't know. Did any of y'all want to say anything? Because
I'm
at
spent.
this at this point
I'm spent.
I have some more things that I think I want to point out, but she basically said that I'm talking about things that I don't know or have seen. So I don't know if I'm offending her. I'm just trying to think, like, how am I wording this? Um, so I think I'm just not going to speak anymore.
No. Listen, hold on, wait. She said, I promise to not that Zarina spoke very eloquently, just speaking in general. Kind of one of the people way I'm a spiritual, and I know some good Christian people who will give and like their lives for everyone in this life to uphold their rights and beliefs. So yeah, I think I think it was this.
she said, Karen Soul says, I promise at Problem Child, I'm not upset. Zarina spoke very eloquently. Just speaking in general. She's just speaking in general.
Right.
And run over other people away. I am spiritual, but I know some good Christian people who will fight and give their lives for everyone in this live to uphold their rights and beliefs. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So she was just speaking in general. It
Yeah.
wasn't
It's
No,
like
I know it sounds like that, and that's a problem that, like, I've been an activist and a protester, like, ever since I was a little kid. And so it's like, I understand sometimes we speak with like a lot of passion. It comes off like we sound like we're upset, like we're angry and we're targeting, but we're not. I'm not. So I'm trying to think, how can I
well,
how can I
it's no
explain
good
it
way.
more? I don't know, like, and it's happened, to a lot of people where they try to speak on these issues and it does come off offensive to some people, and it's like it would be like a 3-hour live if we got into it and went down the rabbit hole, but then it's
Right.
like kind of like I understand when it comes to spirituality and things like this how it can offend people, but I was speaking about things that have actually happened in our nation. And that's why we see this happening. And you guys know my family members who are part of like big Christian organizations. Like I've told y'all behind the scenes, like they
Right.
voted for Trump, and we will never let them like let that go. And it's and I was there. I seen it. I know it can come off offensive. It can sound like like you lumping everyone together, but I'm honestly I'm not doing that. I understand that there's people who are spiritual, military, and they're not radical or they don't have certain views that the rest of the world. I understand that
Right.
100%. And so when I'm talking about these issues, I'm not talking about those people who have their own frame of thinking, who can worship the same as everyone else, but who can also, have their own mind frame and have their own beliefs. And it doesn't go with like the current, like everyone else. It's just everyone else that I'm talking about who is.
Right.
Right. Karen Soul says at Zarina, I'm not upset, sugar. Never think that just sometimes people are so passionate like you are, and you are only trying to help. She said
Exactly.
she
Yeah.
understands. She said she's not. It's
Yeah.
not any. You know.
But I would love one day for her to come up here and speak to us because I don't know if she was here for in the beginning of the conversation when you had dropped off, madam. I was telling Denia that I protested and I was part of Occupy Wall Street, and the cops were treating us like crap. I got beat up countless times with the baton. We had the cops putting red tarps over us, like big red tents over us, so that they could shield the media, so that the media couldn't show what they were doing to us under those tents. And it was like after, like, I want to say 4 or 5 days of us getting brutally beat up by the cops, the people who came out and defended us were soldiers who had came back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they were the ones who were putting their bodies on the line,
Mhm.
protecting us. And I would never forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about it. It's good that we have this dialogue. Um, it's always a welcome sight to just see people just express how they feel, and um being able to just get their point across regardless if you agree with it or not. um it's always good to have dialogue, so I'm thankful for that, you know given everything that's going on and people not being heard. It's good to just be able to just talk to each other.
Right.
Current Soul said, I was in and out earlier, ladies, working at home. I have long hours. Oh, I can believe it.
Right. I understand. I understand, trust me.
Um, and that just take me back to what I was saying earlier about the nurses. He used the nurses as pawns to
Right.
justify his reason for um for enacting deploying the military, the militia, because
Right.
actually in the in that act,
Right.
it basically says militia.
Yep.
So basically, it's not an army anymore; it's a militia.
Right.
And like I said, it's people still out here protesting. It's people still protesting the death of George Floyd, and we can't lose focus of that, regardless of what our views are on
Exactly.
certain issues. That's the main thing.
And we always hear language like that whenever there's a big protest. Like I go back to Occupy Wall Street, that was happening nationwide too, and we were getting beat up left and right, and they were already using language like that, and it was a threat to use martial law, but it never went through. I think they were just trying to scare us off, but what happened was that more people got fed up and it spread like wildfire. But I'll always be thankful to our men and women of the military who stood out there with us, who fought the cops off of us, because if it wasn't for them, we would have still gotten beat up. We were getting
Yeah.
manhandled out there left and right. And like I was
Right.
telling Denaya, they would put these tents over us that we were fighting and scrambling to try to get out. But when there's batons, it's hard. And it was military, it wasn't like they were part of a military group. It was just people who had just came back. They would put their uniform on, they would walk out, and they would basically stand in front of the cops and push them off of us, make sure that they weren't harassing us and agitating us like what we see them doing out there with the protests today. I just can't believe that he's actually wanting to use martial law. Like, we didn't get a warning, and it's like, at least with the other protests, they they try to scare you with it, but he just came out and said, this is what I want to do. And that's very telling, and very worrisome. But I just hope that that we see some pushback in the House.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree with you. Um, it is. It is. And that's just one of the things that we have to face. But again, I keep saying this. We can only face that together. We're literally all in together right now. Like,
Right.
you can't stress that enough. And I think a lot of the anger is directed towards all the senseless black and brown people that have been murdered, and it's directed towards 45, the things that he's done. He has came ever since that he has um, been elected president. Well, selected, not elected. He wasn't elected. He was selected president. Um, he has referred to people of color in the countries that they live in as shitholes. He has violated and shown his sexist tendencies towards women, um, towards old people, people with disabilities, um, all types of all types of people. Karen Soul said every reservist I know said they are pissed off because they have been told if they do not serve and protect, they will be charged as a terrorist.
Wow.
25
Wait,
is
what?
Wow.
nothing, and I don't think that the House will go for it. Of course, they're not going to go for it.
Oh
Of
no.
course, they not. And then you got to think back. See, it's not the channel to get into it on this. This is not
Ooh,
the channel.
nah, hold on, wait a second.
Man, I can't believe. Oh my God.
Oh
It says they
hell,
they've been told if they don't serve and protect, they will be charged
where's
as
this
terrorists.
terrorist? You
Who
can't
does
even do that.
that? Who does that? Like, oh my God.
You can't.
I'm so
Like,
mad. I'm over here
I,
crying. I'm just like
I
so
never thought I'd
upset.
say this, and I
Karen
never
Soul
thought I'd say
says,
this. I never thought I'd say this. I never thought I'd say this. 4 months of pimps don't sound too bad right now.
wow, this is crazy. Karen Soul also says, at Problem Child, I have been physically ill since the young man was viciously murdered.
And
And it does that to you. It honey,
Yeah,
I had a full blown meltdown on the phone
yeah. We
about
literally have
Breonna
not
Taylor.
behind the scenes, we literally have not slept. I mean, we've stayed up together just watching the protest.
Yeah,
There have been tears. There's a lot of anger.
yeah,
Like, if I sound like I'm crying, it just comes in waves. But it's crying because I'm upset. I don't cry when I'm sad. I'm crying when it's upset because I can't punch him out. I can't let loose. I can't do nothing of that to him. And
right.
so this is the only way you can let out. But there have been since everything has gone down, behind the scenes, we have not slept. I think I've slept a total of like 5 hours in like the whole week.
Right.
Like, we're not really eating. I think everyone is at the point where we're just all like, it's beyond, I don't even know if there's a word for it, for what this is. It's not shock. It's a mix of like grief, anger. There
Sadness.
has to be not sadness, but there has to be a new word for it. Because I don't know, it's like a whole new.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, it leaves you speechless. It leaves you speechless.
Yeah. And Karen Soul said, I just wanted to let y'all know. So when y'all see them in y'all city, please don't hate those people. But yeah, I understand. I understand. But it's just like, wow, this
Yeah.
man has committed treason
Yeah.
several times over, and he
Fact.
has the nerve to call the people that give their very lives, that protect and serve, terrorists if they do not comply. Something is very wrong with that. Something is very wrong with that. If people don't see that, then I don't really know what to tell y'all. Like, this is crazy. I do know when Denaya ends her live, I will be going live,
Oh, sorry.
broadcasting the
I was
protest.
beyond this long, but we just got into a conversation.
Yeah,
We just got into such a discussion. Oh, child. Let me
yeah,
end it.
I'm
Because I
going to
know
be
you gotta.
protest.
Girl, I'm like so over it. Like, I'm over it.
I want to ask Karen Soul. So, okay, let's say that it were to go that far to where they are now, well, they're in every city right now, and the National Guard is being forced, like their hand is being forced to go against, to enact this martial law. What happens if you say no? I know they're saying that you're going to be labeled as a terrorist, but what happens to you? And what happens if it's a lot of people who say, no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. Like, that's wrong. What happens at that point?
Yeah. He's making the military pushing about it, guys. Exactly. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's heartbreaking. It's so fucking frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it's not. Current soul problem child says frustrated, mad, cry. Current soul says I cry when I want to fight, and yeah, I've been crying myself to the point I have had migraines. I'm too old to fight, so I support all I can. He is making the military into his personal bodyguards.
Oh,
Problem child said it's madness is what it is. This is supposed to be our leader, so we are at disbelief at
oh
this.
my God! You go to jail and stand trial. What the fuck? No,
She said you go to jail and you stay in trial.
Wow.
you can't do this. You literally can't do this.
You only can do what they allow them to do, and if it and sadly, if it's more people that's willing to serve and protect the commander in chief, then you already know what you had to do. You already know. But I mean, it's still early. I want to stress that to everybody. It's still early. So just see what everybody is saying. See
Right.
what the news is saying, see what the military is saying. Like we said earlier, it's already people from different states, mayors, governors,
Right.
former serving military. They're already coming out and saying, no, this cannot stand, this will not stand. So just keep that in mind. Um, I want to stress that, to just keep that in mind. Make sure you see where the majority of the people are before you decide to act and do what you need to do, because I'm telling you, this is going to be a problem. Problem Child said they can't stand with their people anymore, is what that this means. This is heartbreaking. Karen Soul said in the military you have to follow orders. Um Food in overseas Canada said, I believe that all lives matter. Everyone should be loved, kind, and respected, etc. We are the human race. And that's true. I mean, but to be honest with you, the thing that I would say to that is, yes, all lives matter.
Doesn't matter.
But when people say that, and then you see innocent black and brown people getting lynched, because that's what it is. I'm not gonna call it for anything else than it is.
No,
When you see those people getting lynched, where is your outrage?
that part.
Where is your disdain for the acts that are being carried out and that have been carried out? Yes, again, I say all lives matter, but where is the outrage when somebody in the human race is being taken out?
Right.
Problem Child said all lives do matter, but this is about black lives. I don't have an argument for that, but I find it very funny that people will use all lives matter when black and brown lives are being snuffed out.
It's a discussion to be had, when
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that this person in the chat is like this,
Right.
I'm being very clear. There are people who will yell back at us when we say Black Lives Matter. They say all lives matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yes, you're saying it to
right,
us as if we don't believe that. Like melanated
right,
people, we're one of the biggest believers that all lives should matter. All
right,
lives do matter.
exactly, exactly,
Who you telling? Like we're melanated. We know
right,
that, and we've been screaming that at the top of our lungs that
Yeah.
all lives should matter. But when they're taking out black people and our melanated people left and right, that's when we're screaming Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
That's
And if
why
they
we're
took out,
screaming that out, because it's not like all lives are being taken out like this. There is a long history of black lives being taken. And
yeah,
so we have to yell out Black Lives Matter too.
yeah,
But we, melanated people,
yeah,
we understand more than anyone that all lives matter.
All lives
We
matter.
believe that. We are screaming for that to be real and for that to happen. We've been screaming it for centuries, for decades,
yeah,
but it's not happening. That's
right,
why we're screaming back. Yes, all lives do matter. We know that more than anyone, but Black lives do matter. Quit taking us out.
Right.
yeah. And I find it to be a lot of selective outrage. I don't know people personally that use all lives matter. I mean, that's fine for them to say, but it's a lot of selective outrage out here with these people that want to scream all lives matter, but yet you're some of the same people that are not speaking out when black and brown lives are taken. That's the point.
Problem
We're
Child
not
said,
saying that we're not saying that white lives don't matter, or Middle Eastern lives don't matter, or Asian lives don't matter, but they're not being hunted down in the streets. They're not the ones being hunted down in the streets. We are the ones that's being hunted down in the streets. We've had a target on our back for so long. How do you expect us to feel?
That's
If
good.
you cannot sympathize with that, you can keep that all lives matter.
Problem Child says, This issue is because the black and brown people aren't getting that treatment. They aren't recognized in the all group. And I
That part.
completely,
I agree.
melanated people, we understand that. We want all lives to matter, but it doesn't feel like we're part of the all. And it hasn't
Exactly.
felt like that in forever.
Karen
So
Hill,
for people
Never,
on the outside looking
never.
in, screaming at us when we
Right.
say Black Lives Matter, who scream back all lives matter, we're not part of the all.
that's the problem.
You may be
Right.
part of the all, but
Yeah.
I'm not part of the all. And that's because I look different than you. My skin is darker than you. So that all, I need to
It's
know
not
who
include
that
us.
all represents because it's not representing me. It's not representing us right now. And that's why this is happening. We would love it if we were part of the all. We've been screaming and chanting and peacefully protesting since
Mhm.
the beginning of this nation that
Yeah.
rose off of our backs that we want to be part of the all. That's it. We
Facts.
just want to be part of the all.
That's it.
What's so wrong with that?
Facts.
But we're not part of the all. It's 2020 and we're not part of the all. And
Right.
if you think we are, you're not walking in our shoes.
Right.
Black
You don't know
occurrence.
what it's like to leave your house and look at your family like I may not come back.
Exactly.
Right.
Karen Hill said, people need to get this. When black people win, it's a trickle down effect.
Mhm.
And everyone benefits off our black backs. I'm gonna say that one more time. People
Yes.
need to get this. When black people win, it's a trickle down effect. And everyone benefits off of our black back.
Right. They benefit off of our culture. They benefit off of our skin tone. They benefit off of our the hip hop.
Perfect example. Hip hop.
They benefit off of our features. It is women out here paying thousands and thousands of dollars to get bigger lips, wider thighs, and fatter asses.
Mm-hmm.
To get suntan,
So to
to
get
get
suntans,
to get a
stuff that
tan,
we get
to get our
naturally.
hair. They love looking like us when
Right.
it's cool. They
They
like
love
talking our
talking like
slang
us. You're
because
right.
it's cool. They like listening to our music. They like the things that we bring to the table because our culture is the main one out there that every other nationality reps. They
Exactly.
like trying to be part of our team.
Mm-hmm.
They want to fit in with us and be us, but they don't want us to be part of them.
Right.
They don't
Exactly.
want us to benefit from the privileges that they have, to live well and eat well the way they do, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
work in a safe environment and benefit off of the laws that protect them. They don't want us for that. They just want our culture and they want to rep our style, talk like us, walk like us,
Right.
even walk like us, handshake like us. All of that is cool. It's just not cool to walk in our shoes or for us to sit at their table. So
Right.
who's all? It's not us.
Question: how many times have you walked down the street and locked your car door because you seen a group of melanated people coming your way? How
Mm.
many times, if you're a man or a woman, have you been a little bit afraid because it was melanated people walking past you and you grab your purse up and stuff like that? This is the stuff that we have to deal with on a
On a
daily
daily basis.
basis.
Yeah.
I have a white home girl and her mother do not like black people, but she'll sleep with Puerto Ricans, she'll sleep with Mexicans,
Mm.
and they are our people.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll sleep with Latinos, but they are our people. But I go with her, when I go with my home girl to go see her mom, I have to go and sit in the car around the block. She don't even
Mm.
want black people on her property.
Jesus Christ.
When one day we went to this woman and we walked up to her car, she locked her door and told her daughter to get in the car.
Insane.
And I'm her
Absolutely.
daughter's friend. Her father, before he died, was a racist ass white cop. and South Baltimore. His dying words was to his daughter was not that I love you, take care of your mother, grow up to be something someday. His last dying words to my homegirl was, don't marry a nigga.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I'm trying to understand this all lives matter thing that everybody keep throwing up and throwing around. I really am, because I'm confused.
Right.
Does all lives matter when you can't see the killings, or when you just see it on the news and you pass it by? It was like, oh, that's a shame. Because we haven't really seen no other nationalities step up in our defense till now, to be honest with you, really.
Facts.
Except for the people that we know personally or have seen with our own eyes. So I'm trying to understand, when does all lives matter? When? Not does all lives matter. When does it matter? And if it does matter, or if that is true, why are you not outraged?
When do we get invited to that potluck? When can we be a part of it? Could we not be a part of it? Everybody wants to be invited to our barbecues, but you don't want us to come over to yours.
Mm.
When are we going to be part of that? Because we've never been a part of that. People who believe that, you're lying to yourself, or that's your privilege that you just don't care to know, or you don't want to know, because you've never walked a day in our lives.
Right.
But we've never been a part of that. Since the birth of this nation, we've never been a part of that. And we're still
Exactly.
not a part of that. So who's all? When we scream that a certain life matters, they scream back at us all. Who's all?
Who's
We not part of it. That's why we're having to say our lives matter, because we're not all.
right?
We're not considered that.
We weren't never part of the all, and that's the problem. And that's what we keep on saying. Black lives matter. Maybe we have to say Black Lives Matter too. I don't fucking know. But Black Lives Matter. Do not, do
Right.
not, do not, I'm telling you, do not allow these freaking people who are being destructive to, who? Do
It's a
not allow them to disrupt what's going on. Do not allow, they are there for a distraction. Keep fucking focus. The focus is the fact that we are tired. We are tired. We are fucking tired. Chicago is beyond fucking tired because we got so many goddamn problems. We
Yeah.
we have we have. Let's break this down real
Yeah.
quick. Let me explain to you why we just done at this point. So we had a mayor that shut down 50 damn schools, right? So shutting down 50
Hmm.
schools now means that all these kids are out, and when they shut down 50 schools, that increases the violence that
But
we have.
where were those schools located, Naya?
Oh, in the south and west side, you
In
already
the
know,
south side.
and
And
and they
who's in the south and west side? Because
black
let's get
and
it
brown
clear, when
folks.
people talk about Chicago, a lot of people think of the north side, the beautiful side. We're not in the north side. Who's in the south and west side?
The black and brown folks. But let me get that misconception up because I need people to understand what the that people aren't understanding. The north side has, yes, they have some more, they have some of the more resources, but that's segregated too. Like I need people, like, people have this misconception that, oh, the north side is perfect, this and the third. No, honey, nah, no. Well, that's what the media wants y'all to think. I'm gonna say for somebody
Yep.
who lives here, okay. So like, depending on what area you're in, the north side just is crazy, and they've made it this way. If you go on Howard Street directly from like
Hmm.
Greenview to Sheridan, that's predominantly Caucasian. They make it very fucking clear they don't want us there. My friend just went to a beach 2 days ago, and she was telling me, and she was talking on live. She was saying that some crazy white lady decided to send their friend to deploy the damn dogs. And luckily the dogs were nice because she said if they hadn't been nice, she would have popped them. Period. She said, "Nah, G." She's like, "I would have popped them if they would have came at us with that evil mess. I would have popped them." But the fact that these people thought they were gonna sick some dogs on somebody. Honey, I need y'all to understand. Chicago is incredibly segregated. Not just from
Yes.
the north side to the south side, but there are portions of the north side, like by blocks damn near. So it's like Howard Street is predominantly African American. Clark Street is predominantly Latino. Where I am is the most diverse because it's African American, Egyptian, I think Korean, Japanese, Indian, Syrian, Pakistani. Like this is the most diverse I've ever been in the area that I'm in. Yet it's still segregated. You know what I'm saying? The area that I personally, the first week I was here, had the cops called on me because I had 4 people outside. There was 4 damn cop cars in front of my crib. Mom had a whole fit. I was like, we were literally just talking.
Right.
They didn't know who I was, yada, 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 whatever.
Girl,
I'm like, so this misconception that the north side is perfect, and obviously they have to get their mind out that shit because that's not the case. We have our issues too. Yes, we do have a few more resources than the south and west sides, but again, the biggest reason for that is because the city specifically decided that they wanted to destroy the strong African American communities that were on the south side. And they did that because they did it for the political gain. People don't understand that part. The south side, and the south side specifically, Chatham, specifically, you can look this up, is the reason we had Harold Washington. And as soon as Harold Washington passed and got out of office, they made sure to split that area up because they knew that was the political power that the south side had. That was the political power that the black folks in this city had. And they knew that, and they got scared. Whenever this city gets scared when it comes to the politics, they split up those areas. I need y'all to understand this. Everything that's happening now is strategic. I wouldn't even be surprised if the freaking cops are the ones that inside the damn looting. I'm not even kidding. Because they have watched all the fucking work we put into these areas. They've watched it. They've watched us go to meetings. They've been there when we've been at city council meetings, making sure we can do everything correctly. For years, they've been there. They know the work we put into these communities. They know for a fact what we've done. And they just allowed people to come in and just literally just sat there and watch them tear it all down. That's
and let's
why
not even get into the gentrification that's happening in Chicago. Now you got people talking about it's cool to live in the South Side, and because of all the gentrification coming in,
right?
And we are sitting there like, what?
So what's what's interesting about that though, that's the one thing that I will say about the situation. Now, because I'm where I am because of gentrification. Because we were over further east when I grew up, and then we had to get pushed further and further west because that's where because they kept on taking our saying that they wanted to have our places to be condos. Now, mind you, we was in that spot for 16 years. We knew everything was wrong with it. Like, why don't you buy the condo? No, we know everything that's wrong with it. What's the point? I'm good. We're gone. And plus, they wanted to convert over anyways. The building we were in the next time, knew the story of why we were leaving, promised they wouldn't convert. Not only did they convert, but they were tearing down the building as we were living in it. I need you to fucking understand when I talk about I do this shit for real. I've been advocating for real in this city. I've been building shit for real in this city. There's a housing. There's not a project. There's a place called Wilson Yard that I helped to build. It has apartments that have 30% set aside in the entire building. There is a Target and there is an Aldi's that took 7 fucking years to build. 7 years to get people to agree finally that we can put this here. If y'all understood, it's 7 years of dealing with City Hall, 7 years of dealing with these racist white folks, saying, "Oh, we don't want this here," and yada yada yada. You can't bring these people in that don't have enough money. Wait, that's low income. We're trying to explain to them that you're supposed to pay 30% of your income on your rent. You're only supposed to pay 30% of your income on your rent. However, most people are paying 60 to 70% of their income because of their rent. As a matter of fact, what Chicago has done when it comes to the median income, the median income in this city is like $45,000, or it was before Corona. I don't know what the hell it is now, but it was $45,000 a year, right? So what they were doing when it came to real estate, they were stating that our median income was $75,000 in order to justify having crazy ass rents here. Again, I'm not just saying, oh, I live here and I've gone to a couple meetings. Nah, baby, I've been in this for real. And am I out there processing right now? I'm trying not to, because the way my patience is set up, I don't know if I'll make it home. I'm not even kidding when I say that, but I know my mouth. I know these cops, and it's not going to end well. So I'm trying my hardest to stay in the house. Whew, I really am, because I will not back down this time, because I'm done. I'm so done.
And we're trying our hardest to keep Denia in the house.
You have no idea. They know me. They know I'm like, I want to be out there, but I know I don't think I'll make it back home. I don't. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't. I really, really don't, because they're not gonna hesitate to shoot me. Period. They're not. I'm 6'2". They're not gonna hesitate. They're gonna claim that I was a threat and yada yada yada. All I gotta do is touch my head one time and it's a wrap. I already know this. So they are like, stay in the house, stay in the house, stay in the house. Now, mind you, I have been on the front lines on multiple occasions, not just here, but in Springfield as well. But the way these motherfuckers are doing this shit now, this is crazy. I've never seen it this bad. I've never seen it this bad before. I've never seen CBD crazy. I know they lost their damn mind. But what 45 did, I've never seen that happen before. And I'm appalled. I'm not shocked. I am appalled that you tried to pull a freaking Mars attack, dude. You literally sat there and was like, don't run, we are your friends. You said, I stand with the peaceful protesters, and you shot peaceful protesters and tear gassed them. Dude,
to take a picture with an upside down Bible.
To take a picture with an upside down Bible.
Exactly.
Trust and believe. Trust and believe it. This is what I will say. Trust and believe you. Kiss your job goodbye. Any senator, I'm gonna say this because this is the part I can't get in on. Any senator that's with him, kiss y'all jobs goodbye. The one thing you forgot about Chicago is we do know how to fire politicians. One thing you forgot about Illinois, we do know how to fire politicians. Y'all think y'all won? Y'all think y'all got your jobs? Agree with him? Guess what? All y'all gone. All y'all gone. Trust and believe we will. You think this is something? Watch what happens on election day, because y'all done pushed all the wrong buttons. Election day, we showing up and showing the hell out. I don't care if it's in November. We gonna show up and show out. You thought this was something? Watch 250,000 at the polls, because you done pushed all of our buttons at this point. It's a fucking wrap for all y'all. Keep it up. All right.
Pretty much.
I know. Oh, this is canceled. I have to find a way to reach out to you, baby, because I promised my mom that I won't go out and protest. It's people, right? You live non-color trans. I know it's some people that don't live here that's tearing shit up. That's the problem. She says people of non-color tearing our shit up. We know this. That's the sad part. We ready to strangle some people. It's crazy. Hold on. Cancel said yes, Papa Chop. If you were controlling things, people thought Rahm Emanuel was gonna save Chicago. Who thought that? But he made it worse. He closed schools and allowed property taxes to go up by 45%. Hold on, wait. Let me speak on Rahm real quick, even though he's gone. I always knew Rom as I called Rom the MD chair because when I was heavy into activism, every single time when Rom was a congressperson, every single time we'd have different events and we had the different elected officials come out, and we'd have a list of elected officials that were supposed to show up. He'd always be on the list, but never there. I literally just met him. Now, mind you, I've been in politics since I was 19. I have worked for an alderman, for former alderman, and I have volunteered for the current Cook County Board President, Tony Farkinkle. Now, so that means I've been involved in the Democratic Party for a very long time. And in that time, I should have seen freaking Rahm Emanuel at some point. Not in any time when I was an advocate and advocating for housing and youth issues in the city did I see that fool. Or when I was working with Tony, he didn't come to none of them fundraisers because I was working those. He didn't come to that. So when I saw him when we were singing for the opening of Maggie Daly Park. And that fool came up to me, and he came to all of us with a camera crew. And the only reason we shook his hand was because we had 3 cameras in our faces, and we were in our uniform because we were performing for the opening of Maggie Daly Park. That's the only reason I spoke to him. Just absolutely. So I knew he wasn't going. I knew that fool wasn't trying to save nothing but his bottom line. I knew that for a fact. I never trusted him. In fact, I really do think we should have a conversation when it comes to Mayor and Hyde. But Lori Lightfoot, so far, we're gonna see. This is a test for her. This is definitely a test for her. This is a test. The biggest test. I know she didn't expect it. Nobody expected this craziness. But again, we do get it. We get it when it comes to the protests. But we don't understand is why y'all are destroying the businesses that y'all grew up with.
Denaya.
Yeah.
Karen Soul says she has to find a way to contact you. How can she contact you?
Oh, yeah, you can just if you're on Instagram or anything, you can just hit me up at Denaya Joy because I'm literally everything. Hold on. Up to the best contact is Instagram because I can just send everything from there. Because it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I mean, stuff like that happen all around the country. Like, believe it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me. One thing we were doing when I was on the board with Organization of the Northeast, which is now called One Northside, the one thing that we were doing when we were going around the country to different events, and we went to what was it called? What was it, like a racial justice conference, and we went to New Orleans a year after Katrina. Oh, by the way, for y'all that didn't know, they blew up. They blew up that dam. They didn't. The levee did not break. It was blown up. You can talk to anyone in New Orleans, they would say the same thing. They blew up the levees to protect the French Quarter, because had the levee broken, it would have hit the French Quarter. So they sacrificed the Lower Ninth Ward for the French Quarter. Just a little tea in case y'all want to know. And then we see for different events and all those different conferences. She said, I just got Instagram. Awesome. Yeah, definitely hit me up for sure. It's just sad though. Just absolutely sad. And appalling and frustrating. And just over it.
Yeah.
Over it. I'm so over it. I I just want people to understand that it's
Yes.
not that we're saying that everyone else isn't important, but for the love of God, when the fuck are we gonna be important? When is our life gonna mean anything? The fact that I can't get mad the fact that I can't get mad in public is a problem. Like everybody should be able to have a fit in public. I literally can't. That's a problem. I'll say it all day, every day. The reason Sandra Bland is dead is not because she spoke back, it's because she towered over the officer. Period.
Yeah, it's just I mean, you had a lot, and pretty much sometimes you just had a loss of words. Um, yep, they sacrificed the black people in their homes. Yep. Yeah.
Yep. They sure did.
Yep.
They sure did. Just
And that's
crazy.
the sad part about it.
Just sad. And they had some beautiful homes. And that's the misconception too. It wasn't the poor area. That was the middle class area that they sacrificed. A middle class African American community. But the media made sense of the poor area. No. There might have been some sprinkled in there, but it definitely was a middle class African American community.
Um,
Oh, thank you.
thank you, Karen. So
You are so awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna get
thank
on out of
you.
here. So Madison's go live next, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Whew,
Yeah,
child.
and I'm going to be filming the protests because I'm going to be watching the protests very closely now that Trump has shown his whole ass. So that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, we are going to try and stay encouraged. And you as well, Karen. So,
Yes, you as
I
well.
mean,
Stay
I know
safe,
it's really,
please.
really hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
really hard for everybody right now. And I just thank you and Problem Child and all the people that come to Denia's live and my live and
Yes,
Goddess's
we truly
lives
appreciate all of them.
and stuff like that. And this is what it's all about. We rather be talking about issues like this,
Yes.
rather than talking about the foolishness that everybody else got going on. You know,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, none of that matters.
No.
None of that matters. So thank you for, always coming into our lives, even if it's just for a moment. Thank you so much.
Yes. We love you. All right, you guys, we're gonna get on out of here. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat at Denia. That's DANAYAEZURE. It's the Facebook page, facebook.com/Madison for you, facebook.com/. Denia Your Radio, facebook.com/K First Entertainment. Grab your copy of HFL Magazine. It is the Unbreakable Edition. And you can grab that at www.k4sent.com. All the links I spoke about are in the description as well. Make sure that you guys download the Life After Sports app. You can do that by typing in Life After Sports on iOS or on Google Play. I'm super excited. We got so many amazing things that are coming out because of that. I have a show on Thursday. Let me double check, make sure that's still going on. As far as I know, we still have a show on Thursday with the lovely Essie Marie. She is the one and only black salad dressing creator. Like the only person in the world, like the only woman in the world that owns a salad dressing company that's black owned, woman owned, made by hand. Like, oh my God, she's so amazing. So I guess I'm gonna have her on the show on Thursday. That's what's in the cards. We're just making sure. I'm gonna double check with her today, so I can confirm that for y'all. Might go live tomorrow. We'll see. I might be live Wednesday because we're gonna be doing some stuff on air. So, but yeah, Madam, thank you always for coming through. You're so awesome. We're about to go to Madam's channel and tear it up.
No problem. Yeah.
Oh Jesus. Mm.
Yeah,
Just pray for the country, though. Like I mean,
and
I don't really think.
don't forget, you can follow No Crabs in the Barrel on
Yes,
IG and on
and on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Just type in no crabs in the barrel,
Yes,
IG or Facebook, and it should take you straight to the website.
right. Exactly. Hashtag no crabs in the barrel. Man, are you kidding me? No crabs in the barrel. You type the hashtag and everything pops up. And you've been doing really well with that. Shout out to Goddess. We love you. Oh my goodness, she's so amazing.
Yeah.
Diamond Gang, like y'all are just so fucking incredible. I absolutely love y'all. So
Unicorn gang.
what happened?
No, I said unicorn.
Yeah,
Unicorn gang.
Unicorn Gang, Charm Squad, Diamond Gang, what that, all that. Hashtag no crabs in the barrel. We're about spreading the truth. Everything's not always gonna be positive. Sorry. The world's not positive right now. We got a person in office that lost his ever loving mind. So we just gotta stay together, stay strong, and yeah, let's get it. Let's thrive through COVID-19. Let's thrive beyond this. Chicago, we are better than this. Chicago, let's get this together. Let's make sure the businesses that were destroyed come back stronger than ever. Make sure that every single business that got shut down, make sure that contract goes to a black person, because in our community, right? Make sure that goes to a black contractor for once, because we actually have that control now. Let's try to flip it that way, so we can have a positive outlook on what's going on. Whew. All right, you guys, continue to express and make you unique. Have a great day, or great night, I should say. Stay safe.
Stay safe.